I'm starting over at 40 and pivoting in public, and I'm going to give you the real talk in this video of what reinvention in real time looks like when you're sharing the process, because trust me, it is a lot. So first, I'm briefly going to share my story, and then I'll talk about 5 lessons I've learned, because even if you aren't pivoting in public, even if you're not creating videos and sharing it with the universe, you might be in the process of reinventing and starting over, and you can relate to these lessons I'm going to share. All right, so a bit of my story is I recently moved back to the Bay Area after living in Hawaii for 4 years. I moved back primarily to be closer to my aging parents. Another transition is I'm pivoting and rebuilding my personal brand and online business. So when I was in Hawaii, I built a social media coaching business, teaching other people how to grow an authentic brand through video. A lot of my clients are real estate agents. And in moving back to the Bay Area, I've been thinking about what I want to do next and how I want to evolve. And honestly, my personal brand has evolved too. I'll get into that more later in the video. And then third, another pivot is just where I thought I would be in this life season, what my life looks like versus what I thought I wanted it to be. And I've gone into that in a few videos where I touched upon it, how by 40, I thought I would be settled down, married, and with kids, and that's not my story. That's kind of how I'm reinventing myself, and I'm bringing you into the process and in these videos on YouTube, and they've been pretty raw and real, and I have learned a lot about what it's like reinventing yourself while sharing the journey. Like, I'm not sharing the journey looking back and as the story is over. I'm sharing it in the midst of it, and that is a very different experience. So there's 5 things I've learned. So the first thing is some people will like your change and other people won't. So as context, online I grew a lot previously by showing you my everyday life in Hawaii. I would talk about the lifestyle there, and I also did Asian auntie content. So it was very fun and adventurous. And now I'm stepping into a different season. I'm sharing more about reinvention at 40 and what that looks like. Even on Instagram and YouTube Shorts, I've started a new series of 40 by 40, 40 of the best decisions I made before 40. So just sharing more from my life experience. So my content has evolved. I still have that humorous side to me, but I would say there is more depth to it. And I've gotten varying feedback about that. Some people, they say, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. I liked your Asian auntie content more. I came to you for your fun Hawaii videos. Why aren't you doing that anymore? We didn't come to you for this. Okay, so that's one side of it. And that's okay, because some people just come to you for a certain thing. And the thing is, I can no longer fulfill that need for them, right? Like if they're coming to me specifically for Hawaii specific content, I am no longer in Hawaii. So like I can't meet your need there. So if you want to unsubscribe, you can move on, right? And then on the other hand, there are people who like my pivot. I get messages that, hey, I really like this change in content. There's more depth. You really speak to me. And I've also been able to grow differently, attract a different audience as I'm sharing my journey of starting over at 40 and reinvention. And there might be overlap in that audience and there might not be, right? Some people just might have come for the Hawaii content, and now that I'm not talking about it anymore, they're like, all right, peace out. Whereas other people, they're like, all right, I came for the Hawaii content, whatever Joanna posted about, whether it was like roaches, mangoes, or Asian aunties. I watched videos, I became invested, I like her as a person, and even though she's moved back to the Bay Area and she's pivoting and talking about something different, I will still follow her for her journey. Some people come for only a chapter of your life and are only interested in a chapter, whereas other people stay for the entire story. And it's like a train ride. You could, like a train ride going through the US. You know, I recently went on Amtrak for 52 hours, very interesting. But some people, they stay for the entire 52 hours. They're like, I'm in it to win it, right? Whereas other people, they hop on in San Francisco, then in Sacramento, they get off. They say, this is enough. I don't want to continue on the journey past California. And that's kind of how reinventing in public is like, because some people will like it and some people won't. And some of your audience will stay with you and others won't, but you will attract the people that you're supposed to. And something I've been thinking of is you need to elevate and become who you're supposed to be in order to reach the people you're called to. So in this season, I'm sharing about starting over at 40 and reinvention. And that speaks a lot to people who are also doing that. I've gotten so many messages from people, mostly women, who relate to my story. And if I stayed doing the entertaining Hawaii content, I might not have been able to attract that audience. No matter where you are, even if you're posting videos or not, some people are going to encourage you to change and they'll like your evolution and other people won't. They'll be like, why are you doing this? Why can't you stay the same? But we grow and evolve as people. So just keep going. So the second point is reinventing online is not smooth. This is no smoothie. So when you build an audience online, conventional knowledge says, okay, you should niche down, talk about one thing. And you talk about that, you build an audience, and then you want to monetize that audience. And that can look many different ways. You can do it through advertising, such as brand sponsorships, or you can sell your own products and services, such as workshops, online courses, digital products, and more. But what happens if you meaning me, I'm evolving and reinventing in person? So I'm like, okay, in my mind, I'm like, all right, Joanna, what's your niche? What's the product or service you're going to offer? Or what brand deals are you going to go after? Whatever it is. But it's like I am still learning and growing and evolving while also trying to build. It's not smooth. And sometimes you just got to like put out content and see what resonates and what doesn't. Like, and you've seen that even on YouTube. Like some of my videos, like my most viewed long form video has like 140 or 130 or 140K views now. And some like recently haven't even broke 1,000 views. And that's okay. Like you have to keep putting yourself out there. And the process of reinvention is complex, right? And I also want to honor my own story while sharing it with you. And that's just a lot to deal with. Lesson number 3 about reinventing in public is be mindful of who you listen to. So everyone has all sorts of opinions. There's a few rule of thumbs I have is 1, don't take criticism from anyone you wouldn't take advice from. And then another rule is don't listen to the advice of people who aren't living lives you don't admire. You know, in the Bible, it says you will know someone by their fruit. And if you don't admire someone and like the way they live or their values, then don't listen to their advice. And the third one is if someone isn't putting themselves out there, why would you listen to them? And there's this quote, I read it in a Brene Brown book. It's like by Thomas Jefferson or someone. It's like, they need to also be in the arena, like fighting and doing the thing for them to be able to give you advice. Like it's really easy to be a spectator and criticize someone. So for example, with YouTube videos, you know, some people, they just sit on their couch and they criticize or they give me advice. They aren't doing anything with their life. They aren't putting themselves out there, growing or anything. So just be careful of whose advice you listen to. And this can apply online and in real person. So I have people who question what I do and they're, you know, they say, okay, why are you sharing your life online, reinventing at 40? Or why have you shared any of your journey? Are you a narcissist? Do you like all the personal attention? And I know my why though, so I know why I share, right? The thing is, like, if I cared about what other people thought, I wouldn't get anything done with my life. And here's some advice. You think people are thinking about you, but people are not thinking about you all the time and no one cares really. So that should actually give you a lot of freedom to create content. So for example, maybe an old classmate or peer might see my video and say, oh, that's kind of cringe. Joanna's doing a video about reinventing or starting over at 40. I would never do that. I would never share my life online. Okay, they think that for what, 10 seconds and they move on with their life. Like people aren't marinating on your life. So, you know, just put your content out there, do what you need to do, put yourself out there, then move on. Okay, water break. I like these Hydro Flask water bottles. I drink a ton of water. That is what has helped me stay healthy at 40. Pro tip. So lesson number 4 is lean into what makes you good. So I actually know personally that I have maybe somewhat been resisting this. So I had a recent conversation with a friend and I was just telling her like, I feel so confused about what I'm doing with these videos. And I know I want to build something, but I'm not sure if this is really the direction if I want to go. Like I built an online course last time. I don't know if I still want to do that. Like, I don't know if I want to coach. Just like all these thoughts were swirling. I believe I live in the tension of these two modes of one, me being a creator and storyteller, and the other one of me being a CEO. So the creator storyteller side of me says, okay, create these videos, be the best storyteller possible. And the CEO side says, okay, how are you going to monetize this business? What are the funnels and everything? And those aren't mutually exclusive. Like to merge those is something different because a lot of people with my background, how they monetize online is basically you build an audience, right? And then you sell your skills and your knowledge of how to grow on social media or how to start an e-commerce business or how to build funnels or how to create an app or whatever you do. And that is very business savvy. I can do that and I have done that, right? And there is this storytelling side of me which is what makes me really good. I believe why people come for my content is, yes, I'm smart, I'm knowledgeable, but I make people feel known. When I say the lesson of lean into what makes you good, what makes me good at videos and storytelling is that I am myself and I can be very real and vulnerable with you, and that comes across on video. Like, not many people can do what I do, specifically with my background. Like, you don't see many people who look like me who just kind of share pretty honestly, right? And I think it's leaning into that will bring you to the next level. So me leaning into that authenticity and vulnerability, and I'm really sharing my life with you. I think a prime example of this is recently on Instagram, I created a video about starting over at 40, and I'll post it here. I'm 40, single, and no kids. For a long time, I thought that meant I failed at life. But lately, I've been sharing my story of starting over at 40, of moving back to the Bay Area from Hawaii and reinventing myself. And I felt that shame falling away. In building this community, I've seen that all of us are going through something in life. And also, two things can be true. One, I can long for and grieve the life I imagined. And two, I can be so thankful for who I am, that I know myself, walk in purpose, and have a voice. This year, I started 40 for 40, where I share 40 stories of others who've had to start over. And I've seen that the best storytellers are those who own their own story. So as a prelude to telling other stories, I'm gonna first turn the lens inward. For the next 40 days, I'll be sharing 40 of the best decisions I made before 40, to show what it means to walk through adversity, because at 40, most of us have loved and lost, been through peaks and valleys, and we're still standing. And I hope these stories remind you that you are not alone. You can reinvent yourself and stand tall in who you are. Okay, so with that video, a lot of people related to it. And on Instagram, it has over 500,000 views. But that was pretty raw and real. And not everyone can post that type of content, but I can. So to lean more into that, because the reality is there is a plethora of information out there. You can learn how to do anything by Googling it or through YouTube or ChatGPT. But I believe what really differentiates me is my story and my ability to show up honestly and vulnerably. So leaning more into that. And as you can see, even talking through this, it's been a process. And something I always come back to is the Bible verse of your gift will bring you before greats, or your gift will bring you before kings. And when you function in your calling, or what's the verse? No, maybe it's like your gift will make room for you. I'll put the Bible verse right here. So when you do that, doors will open up. And I truly believe that about my life. And then lesson number 5 is your difference is your advantage. What you think makes you different is what gives you that unique perspective and why people will listen to you. So for example, I posted that video about being single, 40, and no kids. And for a long time, I thought, okay, because I haven't reached these certain societal markers of having a husband or kids, people will discredit me and my story doesn't matter. But that is not the case, because so many people related to that story. And it's almost as if the more specific you are in your story, the more universal it is. And I also believe there is credibility when I tell you, okay, stand tall, walk into your purpose, own your story. I'm sharing that story real time, and I'm like, hey, my life didn't turn out as I expected, and I'm still sharing the story. There's a certain credibility that comes with that, and that is my advantage. So, and actually, I don't think my advantage is being like 40 single, no kids, right? Or my advantage isn't that I used to work in Silicon Valley or I moved to Hawaii. My advantage is that I will tell my story honestly, and no one else can do that for me. What you think is a disadvantage is actually your advantage. I tell these stories to implore you to also tell your story. And you might think, okay, my story is not that interesting. That is not true. Everyone has a story. It's being able to distill what it is. And the reason you want to tell your story is because other people need to hear it. Other people are waiting on your story and the advice and insight that you have. For example, me telling my story of like, oh, I'm 40 and starting over. Other people need to hear that because they're also in the midst of reinvention, and they don't hear people talking about starting over after 40, right? When I shared about, oh, I left my Silicon Valley career and moved to Hawaii, people needed to hear that to know, okay, there's another alternative way of living besides being on the corporate hamster wheel, which I've been on for a while. So your story gives other people strength. So that's what I'm doing in these videos. I just wanted to show up. Oh my gosh, if you made it this far in the video, let me know. And I'm just being real, like this is what pivoting in public looks like, because this video was rambly, but it's honest, right? Let me know what you relate to in this video. If you want to hear more behind the scenes and you want more encouragement, you can sign up for my newsletter right here. I'll put the link in the description below. And until next time, stand tall in who you are.